What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Podcast. I'm DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shady.
And in today's podcast, we are talking about New York Comic Con exclusives. We're actually able to get this podcast out just in time, a special Thursday edition of a Funko Podcast, right on the day that New York Comic Con exclusives are set to release. We would have had this out a little bit earlier, but some things had happened in both of our lives that prevented this podcast from being released earlier than normal, but it's all good. We have them now, along with the fact that this past week, the Funkon exclusives have actually been announced, which those are set to release, I believe, November 1st, if I'm not mistaken, with only 5 exclusives, but that's all right. As terms to New York Comic Con, isn't too bad this year. I actually do think, and this may be a spoiler if you haven't seen our Which Is Better video, I do think that this year's selection is better than the last year's selection for New York Comic Con. I find that New York Comic Con's back in that usual groove of possibly being the best convention of the year with some of the bangers that they're pulling off, with even a lot of the limited piece counts that they have this year. And there were some takeaways that I noticed from this convention. First off, I want to mention is that somehow, some way, we still never got throughout 2024 a SpongeBob Comic Con exclusive for its 25th anniversary. I think that was a little bit upsetting. I think there could have been a couple of things even from this convention that could have been removed for at least a SpongeBob exclusive. And something that I realized also is that I think this year is actually the first time since they've been created that there's no Funko sodas as exclusives for a convention. So that's pretty crazy to think of. I don't know, maybe we are seeing the end of sodas as we know it, and this may be a sign for it, but overall, it's not bad of a convention.
Yeah, it seems not so bad to me either. I do like the selection. There's quite a bit of different things that I think are actually like getting a pop for the first time, which is pretty cool, as well as, yeah, just being a great selection of a bunch of different fandoms where it's not just super heavy into, let's say, something like anime.
Alright, so now we are gonna be going in the order that Funko had actually posted on their social media pages. So the first selection of pops we're gonna be talking about are the Funko Fusion Pops, which there are 4 of them. Skeletor from, of course, Masters of the Universe, Dilophosaurus from Jurassic World, Chuck and Megan, all being in that Eddie-fied version of themselves. This is an okay selection. I do enjoy the Funko Fusion Pops for the sake of not only the figure itself, but of course the amazing box art. I find that it is a little bit of a gripe now as we get close to this convention that it is like Eddie-fied versions of these characters. I feel like this could be something that Funko might dive into where it's almost like a new specification where it's like, all right, let's just slap Eddie-fied onto this, which it looks nice for, let's say, Chucky, because we've gotten so many Chuckies before, so just adding a regular Chucky wouldn't have really made sense. But I think what makes these great also is the fact that all these are limited pieces. They are going to be con only, with Skeletor and Chucky being 1,000 pieces and the Dilophosaurus and Megan being 500 pieces, which it's insane to hear 500 pieces for a con exclusive that isn't, let's say, Funko Fun Days, because we haven't heard those numbers since, I want to say, like the early days of San Diego Comic-Con, where we have like the 480 piece pops.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea to have these pops being super limited. Yeah, these are pretty dang cool. I recently did buy the Funko Fusion game, and I've yet to play it still. I was sick for a while, so I wasn't really feeling like playing games, but these are really cool as well. It just makes a lot of sense to be so limited. I'm glad that we are seeing a decent amount of limited piece counts for New York Comic Con as well. And yeah, just the styling of these is pretty dang cool. It kind of gives me vibes of like Blacklight Pops without being exactly that.
Next pop we're talking about is Britney Spears, more specifically for the Me Against the music video, which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. It doesn't list anything for Canada, and unknown yet of whether anything that wasn't listed for the Canadian retailer for Funko shop also being available at some point to be a Funko shop exclusive for the Canadian website. This is meh. I basically rated this close to being one of the worst pops of the entire convention because we don't need another Britney Spears. Maybe a couple of years ago it was cool to see some of them, but Britney Spears, like I've mentioned in so many of the videos, is the next Notorious B.I.G. when it comes to Funko. There's just way too many unnecessary pops. It's kind of getting annoying. I know like there's some artists that maybe we like that they make a lot of, so that could a little bit hypocritical when we say, oh, I'm glad to see so many of this, but I don't know. Do we really need this Britney Spears. Maybe once again, if these were like a limited piece count, I would say that maybe I would respect it a little bit more, but because it's going to be a little bit more accessible, I think this is going to be one of those sight sitters ending up on the next Funniversary sale for 70% off.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you said there. Like, it's a decent pop. It's by no means bad, but we've had quite a few Britney Spears at this point. When we first got them, it was cool to finally see a Britney pop, but now there's too many, and there's so many different artists that I think could be deserving of their first pop, and it would make sense to be at somewhere like New York Comic Con. So, not a great pop, but it's not really bad either.
Next pop we're looking at is the Deadpool on Zamboni pop rides from the very first Deadpool movie. This is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only and will be limited to 8,500 pieces. I was pretty much laughing my ass off when this got announced. I thought it's hilarious of the fact that they brought back this specific moment. I am a little bit surprised that they didn't go down the route of course, Deadpool and Wolverine just got released. We're going to release a Deadpool and Wolverine pop, but instead they kind of go back into a moment from the very first Deadpool movie that was absolutely hilarious, and then they made that into a pop. The only gripe I really have with this pop, in a way, is the fact of what was the point of putting it as 8,500 pieces, because nowadays 8,500 pieces isn't really a piece count, and I know that's a piece count that won't make this item sell out, especially being a pop rides, which is more of a premium price compared to your 4-inch pops. Yeah, this one's pretty cool for the moment, but no point of putting 8,500 pieces.
Yeah, I think this pop was really smart to do. I think that Funko knew that with the recent release of Deadpool and Wolverine, that people are going back and they're watching Deadpool 1 and 2 before going to the theater to watch the new movie. So people already have this scene kind of ingrained in their mind. So when they see the pop, they're like, yeah, I want to get it. And then, yeah, it is weird with that piece count, but that might be something where people are like, ooh, I can get my first ever, like, piece count pop in my collection and very easily accessible because it's probably not going to sell out like DK said. But either way, it's a great pop and a smart move by Funko.
Next pop is a metallic Wolverine that's a part of a pop and bag bundle, and it's going to be shared with the Funko shop and limited to 1,000 pieces. This one's okay. I mean, I'm surprised this isn't considered con only because it is 1,000 pieces instead of the usual, let's say, 3,000 or 4,000 pieces we've seen in the past with the pop and bag bundles. At least it is a limited piece count because not many people would want to get a metallic version of a pop that already exists, and especially, do people really want that Deadpool backpack? Even though it's pretty cool, but like those Loungefly bags are way too expensive.
Yeah, this pop is okay. And I love I love Wolverine pops. I'm not huge on Deadpool pops. But yeah, I don't think it needs to be metallic. It does look cool that way, but this bag is awesome. I really, really enjoy the bag and the way that it looks with the Wolverine comic book style in between the heart hands of Deadpool. That's really awesome. So for once, it actually is kind of like, I'd rather get the bag than the pop.
Next pop we're looking at is Spider Demon Father from Demon Slayer, which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US and GameStop here in Canada. And this pop looks fantastic. The detail on this is absolutely insane. And there is going to be a lot of these anime pops we're going to be talking about where you look at the pops they released for that certain license for San Diego Comic-Con, and then you look at the New York Comic-Con one and think, man, this is leaps and bounds better. And that's the same thing with Demon Slayer and a couple of other ones we're going to talk about. This Spider Demon Father is pretty sweet. I believe they did the Spider Demon Mother as a Hot Topic exclusive, so if you have that pop, you obviously got to get the father to go along with it. And I think overall, even though I've only seen one season of Demon Slayer, this, out of all the selections of New York Comic-Con pops, is definitely one of the best, at least as terms to detail, and I think this will sell pretty well.
Yeah, this pop has a ton of detail. I know nothing about this character because I know very little about Demon Slayer in general, but yeah, the detail on this is really cool, and it still looks like a pop without really being exactly what a head sculpt is on a pop. The way that they did the eyes, which I would assume these are all eyes on this character, looks really, really cool. I really like that. I don't know, there's something about this pop that I do really, really like. There's so much detail going on with whatever those like spider kind of claw things are that are coming down around the neck. That's really cool as well. So it's great to see some awesome Demon Slayer pops, and it makes sense to be at cons.
Next pop we have here is Corazon from One Piece, which this is going to be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. This is pretty decent. I mean, I always like seeing the One Piece pops that are of brand new characters that we have never seen previously, and for the most part, they sell pretty well. At least it's not another Wanted poster, which I'm kind of glad we're out of that phase of the Wanted poster. This is pretty decent. I don't know too much, obviously. I haven't seen One Piece since I don't know if I can commit to like 64 episodes per season at least, but it's still a pretty decent pop for the most part.
Yeah, this is a pretty decent pop. It's always nice to see One Piece con exclusives. The Wanted posters were pretty cool, but seeing regular 4-inch pops is awesome as well, especially when it is characters that we haven't seen before. And I really do want to get into One Piece, but like DK said, it is a huge task, so it's really tough, and I heard it starts so slow, so I don't know, but these pops are pretty cool.
Continuing on with One Piece, we have ourselves a Buggy the Clown Pop Deluxe, which this is going to be shared with Target in the US and GameStop here in Canada. I was a little surprised that this wasn't, let's say, Hot Topic, but at the same time, we do have Corazon going to Hot Topic, so you can't have both at Hot Topic, but this is okay, and I'm saying it's okay considering that we've already gotten 2 Buggy the Clown Pops already. There's the Hot Topic exclusive, the very first one, and then they just did a Chalice Collectibles one with like a cape or something. I can't exactly remember, but those are pretty decent. But now you have the deluxe form in the throne, which seems cool, but if you're catching on to the trend with the Pop Deluxes now and how you're paying so much for the pop just for the box, because the pop is so tiny in the box nowadays. And even a big example, I was just recently at my local GameStop and they just got in the Dark Side Star Wars pops, more specifically the deluxe pops of like the first appearance Darth Vader and the Darth Vader on throne from, I believe it was Rogue One, if I'm not mistaken, or Obi-Wan. I can't exactly remember, but when you look at that pop, the pop honestly looks like it could fit in a 4-inch box, and it makes it so tiny in that deluxe box that like paying the, I think it's $40 Canadian they're asking for retail is just absolutely ridiculous. And that's the same thing with this Buggy the Clown. Unnecessary. Just wait until the price goes down so you're not paying so much for just a freaking box. But the detail's still pretty cool, but at the same time, it's just, it all comes down to just the pricing nowadays with deluxe pops.
Yeah, I'm already the kind of guy who, like, I don't really like buying 6-inch pops or even bigger than that, like deluxe moments, stuff like that, just because of the way that they fit in my collection. So when you get a pop that's small in one of those boxes, it just really sucks. I don't like that at all. But besides that, this is an awesome pop. I love the way that this one looks. I would say it's probably my favorite of the 3 that we've seen so far now. I just really like the way that he looks and how he's posed on the throne. I think it's really cool.
Next pop we're looking at is Meryl Strife with Kuroneko from Trigun, which this is going to be shared with Barnes & Noble in the US and GameStop here in Canada. It is pretty much the least detailed anime pop out of the set. I don't really know much about Trigun, but it is cool for a pop and buddy, I guess. I don't know, I feel like when it comes to the anime pops, this is kind of the one where it's like, okay, I may get this one later, not right away when all of the pops get released.
Yeah, I agree with that. This pop is pretty lackluster for the most part, but I do like the buddy because it does look like one of my cats.
Next pop we're looking at is Mr. Toad from The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. And I thought this was meh. It's cool that we obviously get some sort of Disney representation. You usually get that with Comic-Cons, but I felt like you could have done something better than Mr. Toad, especially with the Mr. Toads we've seen in the past, like the ones they did for like the Disneyland 65th, I think it was, with like the swirly eyes, or they did the pop rides. I feel like every Mr. Toad pop they made previously have been better than this Mr. Toad.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I was very surprised to see this when it got announced because it is the worst of the Mr. Toads that we've seen. There was some really cool ones, and this is not even a bad pop, but it just feels so unnecessary when we've had ones that were so much better than this one. Why is this getting released at New York Comic Con? It does not really feel like a New York Comic Con pop, unless we hadn't seen a Mr. Toad previously, but it kind of ruins it for me.
Next pop we're looking at is the Animal on Drums from the Muppets, which we got 2 versions. We got ourselves a regular version that will be shared with Target in the US and GameStop here in Canada, and then a flocked version that will be limited to 1,500 pieces and con only. This pop is amazing. Both pops are amazing. Such a huge upgrade compared to the Kermit with T-Pop we got from San Diego Comic-Con, especially for the fact that we actually avoid the problem of the whole Funko Pop Deluxe thing where it's going to be more of a 4-inch pop with the drum set like we've seen with the Catman from Kiss. But of course, in 2024 standards, that would be classified as a Funko Pop Plus. So likely if you're getting this pop, you are going to be paying an extra at least $3, I think, because of that drum kit. But I would rather pay an extra $3 on, let's say, a $15 pop than pay almost double or triple the price for extra space in a box, realistically. This is so good. Like, it's such a refresher to see Animal, considering I don't think we've gotten Animal since the very first wave of Muppets pops, where there was also the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. So, really cool that there's also the flocked version. It sucks, though, for MD, because he probably wants that, and it's limited to 1,500 pieces, but still really cool to see both options.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm loving the resurgence of Muppets Funko Pops, especially even with like Sesame Street as well. So cool for me because I love collecting things Sesame Street and Muppets, and of course love collecting pops, and this is great. An awesome character in Animal. Of course, we have seen Animal in pop form before. I do own the 4,000 piece exclusive flocked one, so I feel like I need to get this flock, and I feel like it's gonna cost me way more money than I want to spend on it, but we'll see what happens. If I can find one at a good price one day, I think I will definitely scoop it up, but I guess for now I will take the more common, because that one is also awesome, and this is a great pop. It's really cool to see the addition of the drum kit. An amazing pop.
Next pop we're looking at is Kylo Ren from Star Wars, more specifically as a part of the new Dark Side series, which is going to be shared with Target in the US and GameStop in Canada. So we just talked about an amazing pop, and now we're talking about probably one of the most trash pops of the entire con. I mean, nothing against Kylo Ren, and I actually don't have a Kylo Ren pop, so I'm surprised that this isn't on my list, but there's been so many Kylo Rens, and this would have been a great opportunity to introduce a new character that we haven't seen yet in this slot, but instead, oh, let's just give another freaking Kylo Ren. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous, and I might be a little bit upset considering that, like, before the announcements, there was a leak of a prototype of an Asajj Ventress Funko Pop finally being made, and I thought, this might be it. We may actually get Asajj Ventress for New York Comic Con, which would actually make one of my predictions for our prediction videos right, but nope, they swerve us in an upsetting way with this Kylo Ren, which is alright, but it's just upsetting because even if we got an obscure character for Star Wars instead of another Kylo Ren, I would have been fine with it. But another Kylo Ren, it's not good.
Yeah, seriously, like, what is this, 2017? Like, why are we getting more Kylo Ren pops? I feel like we've seen all that we need to see for Kylo Ren. We've seen masked versions, we've seen unmasked versions, we've seen, like, more, like, damaged versions. I think even, like, the Lights and Sounds one, we don't need Kylo Ren anymore. And this is, like, this is a cool pop. Like, this looks good, but it's so unnecessary. Yeah, like DK said, like, literally any Star Wars pop probably could have filled this slot, and it would have been better than this.
Now we're going upwards again because the next pop we're talking about is Mystical Elf from Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is going to be shared with the Funko Shop in the US and GameStop here in Canada. Hell yeah, Funko! Let's go! We've been getting some great Yu-Gi-Oh! Pops, don't get me wrong, but now we're going back to basically OG Yu-Gi-Oh! Again with Mystical Elf, and what I really love about this pop, and they actually did a video on their social media about this, is the fact that realistically for this character, you actually only see the top half of it when it comes to the card. You only see her doing the praying pose with the eyes closed, which is awesome how they obviously made the eyes closed, or else it would have been so inaccurate for the actual card. But then whoever created this used their imagination in a way to imagine what the bottom part would be. I cannot wait to get this. I will be at my local GameStop, basically I guess today as this gets released, waiting in line so I can get the Mystical Elf to add this into my collection and show you guys in what probably will be tomorrow's video on the channel.
Yeah, this is amazing. It's awesome to see, one, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Comic-Con pop in general, but it's Mystical Elf. This is great. I've been waiting for this for a long time. If you guys remember in the channel, probably closer to 2 years now at this point, we opened up the sodas of the Blacklight Alice in Wonderland sodas, and the Chase version, I believe, of the Alice itself always reminded me of Mystical Elf with the blue skin color as well as the blonde hair. So it's awesome to see that Mystical Elf actually has a product in Funko now. This is a great pop. Can't wait to add this one to my collection as well.
Next pop we're talking about is, and I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, of course, it's Euphoria from Bleach, which this is going to be shared with Toy Tokyo in the US and GameStop here in Canada. It looks awesome with the amount of detail, especially, I don't know if it's like crying black stuff out of his eyes, but just great detailed pop for an anime that I barely know about. And these are examples of pops where I look at it and it makes me actually want to watch the anime, like back in the day seeing Hero Killer Stain, and that's kind of the catalyst of what made me watch My Hero Academia. So this may be the catalyst of what makes me watch Bleach at some point.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with DK on this one. Like, Bleach is one of those animes, probably the anime that I know the least amount about. Like, I know nothing about Bleach, whereas with One Piece and Demon Slayer, like, there are things that I know about the show. I know nothing about Bleach, but this pop looks sick. I mean, it's just such an interesting character design to begin with, and then being put into pop form, it looks great. There's a lot of detail going on with it. Not a ton of color, but of course, that is because of the character that it is. But yeah, definitely makes me want to at least check out what this character's about.
Next pop we have is the glow-in-the-dark Matatabi from Naruto Shippuden, which this can be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. So this pop I knew about because this was like one of the, I believe, the first pops that got leaked. Looks pretty decent, and obviously the glow on it isn't too bad either, being blue. Overall, I think it's still pretty cool. It's very detailed. I don't know how well it's going to sell because of the fact that it is a 6-inch pop, and I feel like even with a lot of 6-inch pops at Hot Topic, people will skip out on it so that they use Hot Cash later on to buy that thing. It may be a pop that might sit on the shelf for a little bit.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of that as well. This is a really cool looking pop, and yeah, the glow probably isn't entirely the best, but it is a pretty sweet looking pop, but I can see it definitely sitting there. It is kind of just a thing that happens with Hot Topic and their exclusives, is that you're going to get people that are going to wait for Hot Cash season to kind of take advantage of that, which is very smart.
Next pop we have here is Dialga, the 10-inch version from Pokemon, which is going to be shared with GameStop in the US and Canada. Also, this one's pretty decent. This was actually one that I got right, but kind of in a cheating way because I know that it's been leaked for like the last 5 conventions. All year round, we've been seeing the 10-inch Pokemon pops of Pokemon that have never been made yet, which seems to be an advantage for Funko because it has people thinking, I may actually have to get this because they may never have it in the 4-inch pop form, which kind of sucks, but also smart money-wise for Funko. It does look pretty sweet, and I'm sure, like the other pops from C2E2 and San Diego Comic-Con, that this will sell pretty decently, especially for, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because when it comes to like Gen 4 Pokemon, I believe, I don't really know too much, but people have referred to this as like the God Pokemon.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm not huge on the jumbo-sized Pokemon pops, but this one kind of makes sense, and I'm glad that it is a con exclusive. It's a lot better than being a common, where I do think it probably would sit around for a while, besides people who are collecting, like, basically every Pokemon pop that's coming out, or at least one of each Pokemon that is coming out. But yeah, overall, this is cool. I like the way that they're going with this. At least it's not those damn, the new variation of Pokemon pops. What is that called?
Are we talking about
light
soft color?
Soft color, that's what it is.
Oh my god. I'm getting a headache just thinking about that specification.
Yeah, I seen that the other day and I was like, this is ridiculous at this point. There's been so many like new specifications that are coming out just for Pokemon pops that is absolutely unnecessary. Where the is Gengar?
Next pop we're talking about is Dabura from Dragon Ball Z, which this is going to be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. This pop is pretty sweet because, of course, it's not another Goku or Vegeta. They're going down the realm of give us characters we haven't seen 27 of them already, and this is pretty sweet, and I think this has a lot of people excited because it is so refreshing for those who basically might only collect just Dragon Ball Z and don't have to think, oh god, another Goku, really? Another Vegeta, really? Piccolo, even though Piccolo is pretty cool.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the better Dragon Ball Z pops that we've seen in a while. It's awesome that it's a con exclusive and it's not just a like red metallic Vegeta, which is a little bit bogus. So yeah, this is really cool. I think the pop looks great, and hopefully Funko kind of continues this trend with Dragon Ball Z. Just put out a pop each con or every other con or whatever and have it just be a new character or something that people are actually asking for.
Next pop we're looking at is Metal Knuckles from Sonic the Hedgehog, which this is going to be shared with Toy Tokyo in the US and GameStop here in Canada. I love this pop, but it heartbreaks me because I'm not sure whether I actually want to get it or not, because I do own the flocked version that was exclusive to TargetCon a couple of years ago. It makes sense that we got Sonic the Hedgehog here, especially being, at this point, I believe close to 2 months away from the release of the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie, which reminds me, I better see if tickets are on sale, because I have watched all the other Sonic movies in the theater. This pop is awesome. Knuckles is my favorite character in Sonic, so that's why I'm really debating on it, and a metal version, really cool. The detail is awesome. I wonder if they do have this pop as like a metallic pop. It doesn't specifically say, but this pop is sweet, and I'm very highly debating on getting this, especially because it will be shared to GameStop. I'm already going to be going there to get myself Mystical Elf and probably MD the animal pop while I'm there. I may get Metal Knuckles. I'm not entirely sure yet. One of the highlights for me, at least, to see this.
Yeah, Metal Knuckles is wicked. This looks really cool. I've kind of slowed down on buying the Sonic Pops, so I don't know if I'm going to get it, but this is probably one of the coolest Sonic Pops that we've got. So Metal Knuckles here, this is wicked. This is it definitely goes down as one of the best Sonic Pops.
Next pop is the Coraline with Dowsing Rod from, of course, Coraline, which this is going to be shared with Hot Topic in both Canada and the US. I find, in my opinion, that this may be one of the most overrated pops for New York Comic Con. There are a lot of people that are excited about this pop, especially this year being the 15th anniversary of Coraline, but I just don't see what's so special about this. Maybe this was from a specific moment in the movie that, like, I'm forgetting about because I've only seen it a couple of times, like maybe when it was first released 15 years ago. God, that makes me sound old. But there's something about this where I feel like, looking at this certain pop, that I feel like there's been better Coraline pops of herself, and I feel like there will definitely be better down the line.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like there have been better Coraline pops, but I'm in the same boat where I seen this movie back, like, right about when it came out, so it's been so long that I don't remember really much about this movie at all. I definitely need to go back and rewatch it, so I don't know the significance of what's happening with this pop, but in my opinion, I do think that there have been better Coraline pops in the past.
Next pop we're talking about is Share Bear from, of course, the Care Bears, which is going to be shared with Walgreens in the US and GameStop here in Canada. And this is okay. I like the Halloween theme going along with this pop, considering that it's wearing the witch hat, and I believe it's got a broom, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not looking at any photos, so I can't exactly look, but it's also cool if you never got the original Share Bear, which was a part of that Pop Rides that was exclusive to the Funko shop, that now you can get one that is a singular 4-inch form. But other than that, I don't see myself obviously getting this because I don't have Care Bears pops, but still okay. I don't think it's the best, but I don't think it's the worst pop of the con either.
I think that's a fair take with this one. Like, this is just a decent pop. It makes sense to come out now because people are going to be buying Halloween stuff up until, like, the end of Halloween. So this is a pretty decent one. I like the Care Bears pops. I did have one in my collection, which I do believe I've sold off since then. But overall, the Care Bears are just, they're so much fun, and the pops look great.
Next pop we're talking about is the Witch Hazel from Looney Tunes, which is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. Always good to see some Looney Tunes pops, because I think every single convention we've seen, like, basically pops that we've never seen of before as certain characters. Like, even the Yosemite Sam from, I believe it was last year's New York Comic Con, which at that point we had not got Yosemite Sam besides the physical form pop for the NFTs, where it's the regular version, and then seeing, like, Egghead Jr. earlier this year. Just seeing these awesome obscure characters that maybe not a lot of people might not know of, but just seeing new characters in general is usually what you should expect for Looney Tunes for Comic Cons.
Woo! Yeah, I love this one. This is awesome. It's so good to see con-exclusive Looney Tunes pops. One of my favorite sets to collect being the Looney Tunes lineup, and basically all the different things they've done at this point with Space Jam, as well as the, like, Warner Bros. Mashup. So this is awesome. A character that we've yet to get in pop form. Really, really cool. Like DK said, Funko has kind of been killing it with Looney Tunes recently, and I really hope they continue this trend, because there's still some characters that we need to see. Some versions of other characters that we need to see. For example, like a normal version of Porky Pig would be really, really awesome to see.
Next pop we're talking about is the Batman Who Laughs for DC Comics, which is going to be shared with GameStop in both Canada and the US. This is a very detailed pop, and we have gotten, I believe, 1 or 2 Batman Who Laughs pops before, but I think with this pop, this is probably the most detailed with what they've executed with, especially the facial expression. I think they did such a great job with this. Obviously, I don't plan on getting this, but still pretty cool as terms to detail.
Holy moly with this pop. I do think it is detailed. I will say that. But when I first seen the announcement of this, I was like, what? This is literally the exact same pop that we've seen before. And I haven't gone back and actually looked at that one specific Batman Who Laughs pops that I'm thinking of. But God, does it ever just look exactly like it. And I was very disappointed in this. It seems like DC pops recently, for the most part at Comic-Cons, are just so disappointing to me for whatever reason. This one definitely is. But yeah, the detail is there. It looks cool. The mouth on it is unreal. But it just seems to be the exact same pop.
Next pop is the Jolly Jacko from V-Friends, which is going to be limited to 1,000 pieces, so it will be con only. When I first seen the leak, I thought it was just a new Funko character that they came up with. It was like, oh, this is pretty decent. And then it was announced as V-Friends. I'm like, what the heck is V-Friends? And then I later found out that I guess there's this like entrepreneur who like created these characters and ended up making NFTs of them, and this is one of them. At first I didn't like it because of like, are people really going to buy this for the sake of V-Friends, or just, oh, this looks like a cool pop? Which luckily it is 1,000 pieces because it's from basically a art form for an NFT. At first, I will admit I did rate this as the worst pop of the entire convention, but even though that I don't like the metallic specification on this, I would rather have this than, let's say, the Britney Spears we talked about.
Yeah, this one's really interesting, and I knew nothing about this until DK had just explained it there, so at least now I'm kind of filled in. This is an interesting looking pop. The metallic on it looks really crazy with this. So hopefully it looks that good in person. But yeah, I literally knew nothing about this. So it is very interesting. It doesn't really look like a Funko Pop to me though.
Next pop we're talking about is April Ludgate from Parks and Recreation, which is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. This pop is okay. It is cool to see more Parks and Recreation pops rather than, let's say, even The Office, considering I need to catch up on The Office. I'm only 3 pops away from completing the set, but I would like to catch up on it completely before there's any new Office pops. I think we've seen better Parks and Recreation pops either from Comic-Cons or even the new wave that just came out. But I mean, maybe Parks and Recreation is starting to get in that point where, okay, I think we've covered basically at least one pop of different characters. Now we're gonna kind of go in the realm of what are the moments from certain characters here that we can kind of make into a Funko Pop. And this April Ludgate, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, this would go well with the Snake Juice Ron Swanson that was a Funko Shop exclusive. I believe it was that same episode where they're like dressed up in Halloween costumes and they're at a club or something like that. Yeah, there hasn't been that many April Ludgate pops as it is, so I guess it's cool that they chose her for the Parks and Recreation pop here.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid pop. It is cool to see some Parks and Rec stuff. I think that the detail on this pop is pretty dang good, and I would like to continue to see some Parks and Rec pops coming out at different cons.
Next pops we're looking at are the Halloween costume Wednesday and Enids from, of course, the Netflix series Wednesday, in which this is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. I should say both pops because these are actually 2 separate pops, which I was confused at first because they didn't specify, oh, it's a 2-pack, but it seems like it could be a 2-pack considering that it's involving the same scene. At least it is both being shared to the Funko shop instead of, you gotta get one at Funko shop, you gotta get one at Hot Topic. It's good that they kind of have them together, but I feel like it would have just been better just to have it as a 2-pack. Yeah, this is okay for the sake of we're close to Halloween, so that goes with that, but I still would have rather had my prediction of a flocked werewolf Enid be correct for this.
I think these are pretty solid. It's awesome to see some Wednesday pops that aren't just a new version of Wednesday. I guess this technically kind of is, but I think it's crazy that this is not a 2-pack. I think that this is like the epitome of what should be a 2-pack is this. It's 2 characters from essentially the exact same scene. Why split them up? I don't really understand it, but overall I do like these. I think it's pretty cool to add to any Wednesday collection.
Next pop we're looking at is Dream from the Sandman, which is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. This is a pretty unique pop for not knowing what the heck this TV show is. I know I quickly researched, and it's a show that just recently came out in the last couple of years on Netflix, and the detail is awesome with like the sand base, and there's like sand coming out of the hand, the crow on the other hand, I believe it is. So I think they did a pretty decent job with this pop, and who knows, maybe I'll watch it because the pop looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I've never heard of this, but the pop does look pretty sweet, I will say that. A good amount of detail. It's always awesome to see pops that have a cool base like this. So yeah, overall I think it's cool, and maybe I'll have to check the show out.
Next pop is the Lucifer with wings from Lucifer, which is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. And man, talk about a long time coming, because people have been wanting Lucifer pops for what feels like at least a decade at this point. And now we have the first Lucifer pop here. This gives me the vibes of course, when we got the first Borat pop at New York Comic Con a couple of years ago. Finally get it. It's a convention exclusive, but not so limited because it is being shared with the Funko shop, which is a good thing because people are going to want to get the first Lucifer pop, and I'm sure that this is going to be eventually a wave of pops. This is just kind of like the first sneak peek of what you're going to be getting, which has been done with many different pops for different sets before.
Yeah, this pop is great. I was super excited to see that we finally have a Lucifer pop. I think the addition of the wings is really, really good. It looks like the character, which is a good thing. Really cool, and I think people are going to be very excited about this. This might be one of the top sellers for this con.
Next item we're looking at is the Funko Airways t-shirt, which will be a convention-only shirt. I'm just going to say it. It's just like what I say with certain t-shirts. I hate the idea of the small logo on the front and the big logo on the back. And you've probably heard me say it 117 times at this point of that reasoning of not liking these kinds of shirts. It's okay at best.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Sometimes I do like the small logo on the front and the big on the back. With this one, I think it could just be the big logo on the front and then leave it at that. So with that being said, yeah, this t-shirt is kind of just okay.
Then we got ourselves the Biddy Pop 4-pack, the Funko Airways Biddy Pop 4-pack. They're all in different Halloween costumes, and I'm not gonna lie, this may be the best Comic-Con exclusive Biddy Pop set that Funko has done. And it's actually a Biddy Pop set that I think is actually pretty good. Normally with Biddy Pops, I hate them, whether it's normally or just the convention exclusives, especially after seeing, I believe it was at San Diego Comic-Con, those black and white Ninja Turtle Biddy Pops that are just like, these are dumb. They're just copying the other ones except comic book sketchings. But with these ones, these are of certain pops that have never been made before. However, there could be a possibility that these could be made because I have a theory that these could be potential redeemables for the Funkoween Series 2 NFT drop coming out at the end of the month. And if that's the case, that'd be really awesome.
This is a really solid set of Biddy Pops here. I really like the way that they've done this. You get your two different Freddys, you got a Proto and you got a Franny. That's really awesome. I like the different characters that they are. The Freddy as like the ghost character I think is really dang cool. Proto as like Frankenstein's monster, I believe is what that is. Pretty hilarious as well. I think that the only way to make this better, and usually I wouldn't say something like this, is let's cut this piece count in half. Let's do 2,000 of these where it's a little bit more limited. I don't think a ton of people are really collecting Biddy Pops like crazy anyways. 4,000 for Biddy Pops seems a little high to me.
And then the last exclusive for New York Comic Con we're talking about is the Headless Freddy Funko. This is going to be shared with the Funko shop in the US only. This pop is fire. Normally, you guys hear my opinion about Freddy Funkos, but this is an example of what I would like to see with Freddy Funko, and this is so fantastic. It goes with the Halloween theme, and I think this may actually be, out of all of the Funko Shop shared exclusives, it's going to be the first one to sell out. I guarantee it. Oh, I can't say a bad thing about a Freddy Funko Pop for once as terms to this pop. There's nothing bad about this.
I can say something bad about this pop. And the only thing about it that is bad is that it's not glow-in-the-dark. Besides that, this is a phenomenal pop. This looks so cool. The stand, the way that Freddy's body's posed, he's holding his head up in the air, the way that the detail is on the head with those exposed teeth and like around the eyeball kind of being exposed as well. The hair not being normal, like nice combed over Freddy hair. It's kind of all shaggy. This is a wicked pop. This is so cool. One that I would like to have in my collection.
Alright, so now we're going to move on to the 5 exclusives for the upcoming Funkon exclusives, which I think overall these are, I guess, a solid set of 5s. It's like typical of what you would see, like really cool to see a Simpsons, but I'll talk about all of them at the same time. So first off, we got ourselves Hagenzuka, if I'm pronouncing that right, from Demon Slayer. All of these are going to be shared with the Funko Shop in the US, but additionally it will be shared with Chow's Collectibles in the US and GameStop here in Canada. Homer with Reactor from The Simpsons, which will be shared with GameStop in Canada. Vinsmoke Renju, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, from One Piece, going to be shared with Child's Collectibles in the States and GameStop in Canada. A new pop of Paddington, which that is going to be the only pop that is only shared with the Funko shop in the US only. And then last but not least, we have ourselves Palkia, a 10-inch variant from Pokemon, which will additionally be shared with Target in the US and GameStop here in Canada. I think this is pretty decent. Really cool to end off the year with the Simpsons pop because the, I believe, 35th anniversary is right around the time of the release of this pop. So really cool to end off with another Comic-Con exclusive Simpsons pop. Hagen Zuka, I believe we've gotten a pop previously of, but it's cool to see another one because that face is absolutely hilarious. The One Piece pop, cool to see once again a new character that hasn't been done yet as a Comic-Con exclusive. Paddington, pretty cool looking pop, eating what looks to be a PB&J sandwich. And then the Palkia, I can't exactly remember, was Palkia the pop you predicted for a New York Comic-Con exclusive, or is that something else? The Palkia looks pretty decent also, I guess. So a solid 5. It didn't have to be as big as New York Comic-Con, or actually it's not even as big as C2E2.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was Palkia or not. Maybe it was Arceus. I don't remember who I predicted, but it was one of them because we kind of knew that we were getting them, and it makes sense that with the New York Comic-Con Dialga that we get Palkia to go side by side with it. So that's pretty cool. I think this one looks better than the Dialga, honestly. I think this one is just pretty solid. Paddington is so out of nowhere. This is so random to see a Paddington pop. I love it, but it being an exclusive to Funkon London, like, why not just make it flocked? We don't need an unflocked version here. Just make it flocked. And then the One Piece pop, I know nothing about this character. I don't think I've ever seen her, but there's a lot going on with this. It looks pretty cool. And then the Demon Slayer pop, yeah, I do believe that we have seen a version of this. And then we have a new Homer Simpson, and this one's pretty dang solid. I like this with the reactor. This is cool. A lot of really good Simpsons pops kind of coming around the way right now, so my wallet's going to be looking pretty dry after some of this.
Anyways, guys, that is going to be the end of this edition of a Funko Popcast. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know down below what you're planning on getting for New York Comic Con 2024 and I guess FunCon 2024 also. And we hope to see you guys on another podcast or video in general on the channel. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
Donuts. Peace in, peace out.